Hello everyone. I accidentally clicked end stream. Sorry about that. I was just wondering how y'all are doing. Um, we're gonna jump right into it. Uh, first off, let me turn on my hand tracking. That's the first thing we want to do, and let's make sure that it's actually working today. Okay. Hello. So I have some good news. I have some really, really good news for those who have been here for a minute. I am going to be having a Discord announcement. We're going to be having a Discord set up for the community. Um, I don't know if y'all are interested or not, but if you are, you got to give me a couple days, and then we will get a Discord set up, and then everybody will be able to, join. Once we get enough people, there'll be a mod team. Because I'm not always active all the time. Like I sleep during the top, the like until around noon. I'm asleep because of my overnight shifts. But we will have a Discord set up. I promise. And then once that happens, we can fucking get some announcements going. You can keep track of my videos and everything like that. And y'all can let me know feedback. If you feel like I should set up a Patreon, y'all can let me know. I can also do buy me a coffee instead. But for the most part, we're just gonna start simple with baby steps with the Discord. Um, Hold on. Trying to get my chat ready because I would like to be able to see my chat. You can tell I'm still a rookie at this. Hold on. I'm trying to look at the chat through the mobile app so that I don't, miss what is said. I'm working off of one screen, as we all know. So, there we go. I think we got it now. Alright, we're gonna do some more iceberg reactions. They've been doing pretty decently, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I really like them. So, might as well get into the party and we're just gonna see if we can find an iceberg to watch. Now, mind you, we may watch some other videos too. I just don't know what they might be yet. That's the only thing, is I don't know what it might be. Doo 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 doo. Ooh. How does a body horror iceberg sound? Alright, chat, we're gonna be watching the body horror iceberg. It's gonna be a couple hours long. We may do another. It depends. Because I know I tend to make these videos longer than the actual video we're reacting to. But yeah, just let me know. Let me know. Alright. Let's start this bad boy.
Hello, friends. This is Grief speaking. Well, this is a little overdue, but this is the
Hello, Grief.
entire body horror iceberg series in one video, so you can watch or listen to it marathon style. It's crazy looking back over this a year later now and seeing how far the channel's come. I do want to point out that this is my original run of body horror videos based on Dripcat's chart. Since then, the iceberg has grown, and it'll continue to grow, I'm assuming, since it's such a broad category. But I
That makes sense. There's a lot of horror movies that are in different genres that have body horror in them. Body horror is one of my favorite types of horror too. I'm a big anatomy nut. I love body horror, so it's near and dear to my heart.
I just wanted to put everything I'd done so far into a complete video. I am, however, currently working on a new body horror series that is essentially a continuation of the series, but not based on an iceberg chart. Rather, I'll be covering my own body horror picks as well as suggestions from viewers. So there will be new.
Also, that's another thing with this Discord announcement. If you have ideas for video content that you want me to cover, whether that's reactions or video games, I do play a lot of video games on my computer. I just don't do it as often anymore because I don't get very far before my time constraints get in the way. But yeah, if I have a game that I'm able to play, uh, let me know if you want to see it. Now, mind you, I am on a budget all the time. So if you have something that's free or, something I can get on like itch.io or Flashpoint, because I do play Flash games, uh, hit me up on it. Let me know. Let me know in the comments.
Body horror content coming soon. This is simply the original iceberg as well as 2 bonus body horror videos I did with extra entries at the end. I actually think a lot of people who were following the series missed these last videos because they were age restricted and severely limited on views. I probably won't have an outro on this video, so I just wanted to first off thank Kill Me Katie for letting me use his music throughout this entire series. If you haven't checked him out, he'll be in the description below. And
If I ever do a reaction video with music in the background, that is not my Monster Hunter intro for the stream. It'll probably be Snot. Snot is a kind of underground rapper. I met him on Omegle before that it got shut down, and he gave me full permission to use his music in my streams. So, yeah.
And secondly, my patrons. Naomi Romero, Soma, Krusty the Krab, One Group, Ali Morgan, Laz Wishgender, Malediction, Hunter Piva, Tora, Heather M, and Creepypasta Q. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your support. But that's enough blabbering out of me. There's over 3 hours of body horror to get to here, so without further ado, this is the body horror iceberg complete.
Let's jump into it.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street definitely stands out in the realm of slashers when it comes to body horror, mostly due to the bizarre forms Freddy takes in the dream world.
He's got so many arms.
Not to mention what he does to some of his victims, like pulling tendons out of a guy's body and controlling him like a puppet. Adventure Time. Adventure Time definitely has its share of bizarre humanoid beings, from mutants to aliens, alternate species. Adventure Time has it all. And with all of these comes
Magic Man!
some really off-putting light examples of body horror. Airheads. This is referring to the 90s and early 2000s airhead
These commercials used to throw me for a fucking loop as a kid.
commercials where kids' heads literally turned into balloons. Akira. Probably one of the most...
Akira is the most influential anime. You know why? Because it got anime into the Western Hemisphere and got it more popularized, and it changed the way people, directed, scripted, and designed anime. Because there was not a lot of in-depth anime like this. And also, the body horror scenes are great. I definitely recommend it. Also, if you watch Tetsuo the Iron Man, this follows a similar kind of concept with the Tetsuo character here, but it's not really fetishized. It's more of a power trip.
famous animes of all time, Akira has multiple scenes of violence and gore, but the real cream of the body horror crop is the transformation of Tetsuo at the end of the movie that looks absolutely revolting. Alien. I think this one's obvious. Besides plenty of great alien kills, the movie has...
Alien is phenomenal. I have not seen Romulus yet. I'm hoping to. Prometheus, like, I've seen all the Alien movies, but Prometheus, when it came out, it blew my fucking mind.
One of the most iconic horror scenes of all time, the chestburster scene. I'd also point out that the weird android Milkblood is pretty gross. Among Us. Among Us is obviously inspired story-wise by The Thing, which we'll get to later, but essentially one of the crew is just an alien imposter, and we see some of the creepy body aspects here with the kills. Anti-drug commercials. This is referring to...
Oh god, I remember that one. God, she looks like a deflated, inflatable tube man.
line of anti-drug ads in the 2000s, basically trying to showcase how people change when using drugs, and using some creepy CGI to alter the drug user's body so that they're all flat. It's funny and disturbing. Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan features weird-ass naked giants, which is enough to put it on the list, but
if you have not seen Attack on Titan, you've been living under a fucking rock. I finished the manga way before they finished the series, and even though it's kind of anticlimactic, um, it is definitely a watch if you haven't watched Attack on Titan yet.
But also, whenever characters transform into Titans, it's pretty graphic. Beetlejuice. Our favorite undead dirtball Beetlejuice
I gotta see the second one.
transforms his body several times in creepy ways. But the real freaky stuff comes into play when the two main characters alter their appearance in order to try and look scarier. And they do. Ben 10. This one seems ridiculous, but as a kid, I can imagine the weird stuff that happens to Ben's skin as he transforms being unsettling. Berserk.
It's probably uncomfortable too. Like, think about it. His bones are shifting, his skin is splitting and bulging, and it seems like it would be uncomfortable.
Berserk is a beloved manga featuring a sword.
Fuck you, Griffith. Fuck you. We don't talk about Griffith in this house.
Guts as he battles inhuman monstrosities called apostles. The real horror is from some of the grotesque bodies of the apostles along with other creatures in the world. Bloodborne. Bloodborne is a Souls-like game developed by From Software, and although it's a different setting than Dark Souls, it still features really disturbing creatures and enemies.
I'm working on playing Bloodborne for a second time. I I don't rage that much yet. But I will admit that starting all the way over when you die does get annoying, but I do like the death mechanic as well, the afterlife or whatever.
Breaking Bad. I'm not entirely sure what the body horror of Breaking Bad is, but the show has its share of blood and gore, including dissolving a human body in a bathtub, and spoilers, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that Gus Fringe's face being blown off is why it's made the list.
The fact that he is stone cold in the scene was just insane.
Cars 2. This is more comedic, but the idea is that the cars themselves are a form of body horror, especially if you pair this with the fan theory that the cars are actually just evolved humans. Cell Absorb. This is referencing Cell from Dragon Ball, who has the ability
That shit was freaky as fuck. I remember watching this on VHS and I was like, what is happening?
to absorb people, which changes and evolves his form. Child's Play. In Child's Play, Charles Lee Ray's soul is transferred into a doll's body, and then that body starts to become human, which is a perfect example of body horror. I actually made a video breaking down every mainline Chucky movie.
Yeah, body horror doesn't have to be extreme. I think a lot of people don't realize that. It doesn't have to be too extreme.
If you want to check it out. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Courage is one of the creepiest kids' cartoons ever, and it's chock full of body horror and humanoid creatures. But
Return the slab or suffer my curse.
probably the freakiest is the "you're not perfect" thing, which still haunts many kids who saw the random creature back in the day. David Cronenberg. Cronenberg is a director famous for his horror films and probably made this list for a number of reasons, mainly The Fly, which is probably the best body horror film of all time,
Cronenberg has some terrifying body horror.
or at least the most popular, Devil's Machine, Earthbound. The Devil's Machine is a bit mysterious, but it's essentially a device that holds Gygus, the main antagonist in Earthbound. Since it serves as a body for Gygus, it can be classified as body horror.
I mean, come on, you're walking on his intestines. His fucking, the center of his ribs are pulsating. Like, and the creature itself is fucking obscenely terrifying.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There's a couple of weird body things going on in the Multiverse of Madness, but this is likely referencing Strange taking control of his own decaying corpse, or Wanda completely destroying the Illuminati in horrific body-altering ways. Doctor Who. Doctor Who has some of the most bizarre...
Wanda Maximoff spaghettifying Reed Richards was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen.
Are humanoid creatures and aliens, but probably one of the best examples I can think of is Lady Cassandra, who in the
She looks like a Silent Hill monster.
year 5 billion is nothing but a stretched out slab of skin with a face on it that needs constant moisture to stay alive. Doom. Almost every enemy in Doom can classify as body horror, but I tend to find the ones that are closest to humans the most disturbing. A good example would be the Mancubus. Family Guy.
Why? You could. Okay, I understand, that you're showing a Mancubus, but you're only showing Doom 3. You're only showing Doom 3. Like, the ones in 2016 and Eternal are so much worse.
There are too many examples of body horror in Family Guy to count, but an example right off my noggin is when Quagmire and Cleveland's bodies combine in a What If Apocalypse episode, Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not super knowledgeable about the Freddy's.
Okay, so I can explain this one. I mean, you just literally Springtrap is the first thing that comes to mind because of the spring lock suit fucking drilling into him, and then his body is just fucking decaying. He can't die, but his body is just a corpse. Also, I don't know who it was. It was some TikToker, but I swear to God, they fucking were making an actual game accurate Springtrap spring lock suit, and they got sent to the hospital because the spring locks failed and almost fucking pierced through them. Like, what is wrong with y'all? Didn't we not learn from these games?
Franchise, but I think this is simply referring to the disturbing looking animatronics of Freddy and the rest of the gang, who were possessed by the souls of dead kids. Yeah, pretty dark. Frankenstein. Frankenstein is one of the oldest depictions of body horror, and there's a reason it stood the test of time.
No matter what adaptation you watch, the Frankenstein's creation, I'm gonna call him Adam. Adam is terrifying. It doesn't matter what adaptation you watch.
Bodies stitched together from multiple corpses and brought back to life is still a sickening concept. Freaks. This film was actually banned for a long time, and when I finally watched it, I was surprised that it wasn't really a horror movie. There is one scary climactic scene, but for the most part it's drama. However, it depends on what freaks you out. If deformities skeeve you out, then this movie can definitely be off-putting, with many of the cast being actual circus members, including the human pillow who has no arms or legs.
Yeah, deformities don't freak me out. I'm actually, like, I study a lot of deformities, and in my current art projects, I'm doing the ABCs of pain, and a lot of them are birth defects. Like, G was genu recurvatum, which is like the backwards knee syndrome, where your knees are built like a fucking animal's.
Fruit gushers. This is probably referring to the classic Gushers commercial where kids eat
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
gushers and then turn into different fruit with some creepy CGI. Goosebumps. Goosebumps has a ton of body horror moments, but one of my favorites is when two boys are given a concoction by their old babysitter. They then
I think the Werewolf of Fever Swamp was a really good body horror shot.
start rapidly aging so that she can whore their little old asses out to her friends. No, for real, that's an actual episode. Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls, in my book, is one of the best cartoons ever, and even though it's a Disney show, still has all kinds of creepy, disturbing humanoid characters, particularly in the Weird Mageddon saga of the show. H.P. Lovecraft. The king of cosmic horror, of course, mingles often with body horror. A couple of examples would be the devolved humans living under the castle and rats in the
The deep ones, like the deep ones, are such a simple concept, but they're so freaky.
walls, and the concept of slowly turning into a freakish fish person in The Shadow over Innsmouth. Half-Life. Headcrab zombies. What more do I need to say? House.
I like I like head crabs. We're gonna skip over that one because I have a phobia of maggots and I don't want to look at it.
MD.
Okay, hold on. There we go. I have a phobia of maggots. I'm not gonna look at it.
A group of humans for eternity. Besides various forms of torture and violence, one character, Benny, has had his physical appearance altered to be chimp-like, and he has radiation scars all over him. Spoilers, but the last living human ends up being transformed into, well, I'll just quote it.
I have become a great jelly thing. This is a good book too, and I think it has a comic adaptation. We need a movie of this. I really wish we had a movie, or at least a short film, about I have no mouth and I must scream.
I am a great soft jelly thing, smoothly rounded with no mouth, with pulsing white holes filled by fog where my eyes used to be, rubbery appendages that were once my arms, bulks rounding down into legless humps of soft, slippery matter. I leave a moist trail when I move. Blotches of diseased, evil gray come and go on my surface, as though light is being beamed from within. I mean, holy shit. Indiana Jones' face melt, one of the most unexpected.
You know, when I first saw this, it was in a GIF, um, and I swear to God, I thought it was from like Scanners or something. That was before I watched either movie.
Horrifying scenes in a movie is this iconic face melt scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm going to use the 19.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is one of the only horror movies to ever give me nightmares. It ever. Like, I cannot handle watching that movie again. I've watched a lot of horror movies. Like, I have watched a lot. There's this IMDb fan, like, tier list made by this guy called Watching Lots of Stuff that has like over 1,000 entries, and it's really interesting because some of his fan entries go over his while he's watching these movies, he's overcoming his benzo and opioid addiction. He has other addictions too. He's done coke, he's done heroin, whatever. Eventually, he becomes sober. But I've watched so many of the horror movies on that list, but I will never, ever watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers again.
1978 version for this reference because the body snatchers are just a little scarier, and also this creepy ass dog with a man's face. What the hell? It. This is probably in reference to Pennywise's body transformations and also the other humanoid shapes he takes. Plus, he bites a kid's freaking arm off, so there's that. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
JoJo's makes sense. It's got some body horror moments in it. It really does. It's kind of some of some of it's kind of gross. It the way they're detailed makes it a lot weirder than it should be. And like somebody took all the extra detail lines off of I think Jotaro at one point, and he actually looks his age.
I don't know much about JoJo, but from what I understand, it's got a lot of horror elements to it, including gross body transformations and also this weird scene where a dude jumps out of a horse. Left 4 Dead. It's not just the zombies of the Left 4 Dead series.
Don't forget Back 4 Blood, which was made by the original dev team. Because Back 4 Blood has some fucking creepy body horror shit too.
But the special zombies that really showcase the body horror here. The Boomer, Spitter, and Tank are just a few examples of the twisted body shapes the undead take on. Lilo and Stitch. This is one of those ones that's probably a joke, but I guess the mad scientist alien creation aspect counts as body horror. Metroid. This is likely referring to the Metroid creatures themselves, which evolved through several mutations, and of course the disgusting Metroid Queen. Michael Jackson's Thriller. More zombie horror here as Michael Jackson dances with a horde of zombies. Maybe that makes it more disturbing for some people.
I think it's the fact that Michael Jackson starts decaying throughout the music video, and that might be why. And also, I think at the end of the Thriller music video, he transforms into a werewolf? Question mark? It's been a minute since I've seen that video.
People, I don't know. Also, he transforms into a werecat at some point, so there's that. Parasite. Parasite is a manga about a high school student who is infected with an alien parasite. The parasite attempts to enter his brain to control his whole body, but ends up entering his arm. The parasite now controls his arm and maintains its own personality. Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, and he uses that parasite to go fucking fight off the ones that have been fully controlled.
You could do a whole video on the body horror in Resident Evil, not just because of the zombies, but oftentimes characters transform into monstrosities. So
let me see if I can find it. Because if I remember correctly, I have drawn the fifth form of William Birkin from Resident Evil 2. Hold on. Hold on, right quick. I'm gonna show y'all this right quick. This was my old art page. I don't use it anymore. This was back when I had freshly graduated high school. So, I'm gonna share with y'all some of my artwork. Okay, because I have a lot. This was my William Birkin drawing of his final form. Uh, from Resident Evil 2. One of my favorite body horror sequences. Um, Actually, let me just go ahead and show y'all what I was doing in high school because I made Kyrie in middle school. This was from BlizzCon 2014. This was during the Hot Topic BlizzCon collaboration contest. Um, this is the Gore Magala. I actually have a scarification tattoo of Gore Magala on my side that I'm gonna go get inked over eventually. Um, Let me see. I painted an astronaut vacuuming up stores, which I thought was super sick. Uh, this was one of my first drawings of Kyrie. And let me see. I used to draw a lot of shit. Masaregios. That was pretty fucking dope. I think this was a Shogoth from Lovecraft that I did. Oh, and when FNAF 4 Halloween Edition came out, I was one of the first people to be able to find what the actual what Jacko Bonnie actually looked like, and I had posted it on DeviantArt, and I was able to kind of recreate it. But yeah, I drew a lot of shit back then. A lot of shit. I'm trying to find one that I really like. Hold on. The Zekrom was pretty dope. Mitsune. This was actually my first ever digital art piece. It was a Raphalos. Doesn't look like that now. I sent this to XXS Tentacion on Instagram before he died. So it was like mere hours before we found out he was dead. I was really sad I never got to get a response from him because he always interacted with his fans. But yeah, that's pretty much. I kind of went on a tangent there, my bad. But I just wanted to kind of share some of my work because I do feel deeply inspired from body horror. But that was all like high school and middle school.
Sometimes it's over the top, and other times it's absolutely disgusting, like the mom in Resident Evil 7, for example. Rick and Morty. This is one of those entries that make me feel stupid for pointing it out, but obviously there's all kinds of examples like Pickle Rick and when Jerry gets turned into a worm, not to mention zombies, aliens, mutants, everything. Runaway Brain. This is a 1995 Disney movie where Mickey Mouse switches bodies with a Frankenstein-like creature, so, body swap zombie stuff. It fits. Saturn devouring his son.
Man, Runaway Brain. I gotta ask my boyfriend about that because he loves Disney. Like, absolutely loves it. I gotta ask him if he's ever seen.
This might be one of the most talked about paintings on the YouTube horror space, and for good reason because it's really striking in a disturbing way. Shape-shifting characters. This is just a general reference to shape-shifting characters like
Mystique is terrifying. Like, I don't. It doesn't matter what context. Mystique is terrifying.
Mystique from X-Men, for example, or Professor McGonagall, since any kind of shapeshifting is considered body horror to some extent. Silent Hill. Like Resident Evil, Silent Hill has a host of disturbing enemies. But something about Silent Hill's enemy design sets it apart with the humanoid creatures being slightly altered in weird ways.
They're not just altered in weird ways, but some of them are just biomechanical too.
The most famous examples are the nurses and Pyramid Head, of course. Soft construction with boiled beans, premonition of war. So with a name like that, you know this is going to be weird. It's a painting by Salvador Dali that shows a grotesque...
I've never seen a Dali painting like this. I've seen his surrealism stuff. but I've never seen anything like that.
Altered human body destroying itself. I kind of love it. South Park. Another adult cartoon with hundreds of examples of body horror, especially with just so many gory deaths. But some examples would be the human sentai pad and the nurse with a fetus on her head. SpongeBob SquarePants. Honestly, this might just be referring to the characters themselves, who are basically mutants. There's always those weird, detailed close ups in SpongeBob that really.
I mean, there is a theory that Bikini Bottom is a radioactive testing facility, like an ocean testing facility.
Showcase the disturbing nature of these humanoid underwater freaks. Great show. Stranger Things. I've heard Stranger Things praised a lot in the way of body horror. This is mostly in reference to the mind flayer possessing people's bodies, which turns them into zombified creatures and ultimately goopy human remains. Stray. Okay,
Don't forget the Demogorgon. Please don't forget the Demogorgon, because that bitch is terrifying.
Okay, so I think this is referring to the recently released PS5 game in which you play as a cat, but it's a little unclear as to what the body horror reference is. It might be the Zerks, which are creepy little devouring creatures, or maybe the robots who inhabit this city. I don't know, I'm probably missing something big here. The fog that turns everybody inside out. This is specifically in reference to Treehouse of Horror 5, when at the end of a nightmare sequence, Bart wakes up to Marge telling him everything is fine, except that fog that turns everybody inside out. And then it does so. The disaster of
That was such a weird episode.
War. This is a collection of art by Francisco Goya, the same guy who did the Saturn Devours His Son painting. They're depicting violent acts of war or the byproducts of such and can be pretty gruesome in that regard.
If you listen to war metal, there are some bands that will use Goya's Disasters of War pieces as album covers. And honestly, it's kind of fitting.
Fly. Since we're talking horror here, let's focus on the 1986 film because holy hell, this really is one of the quintessential body horror films and might be one of the best horror films of all time. So many disgusting scenes like his fingernails among other body parts falling off. The Island of Dr. Moreau. Although this book and the film based on it are getting old, the disturbing concept of human-animal hybrids is still creepy as hell. The Last of Us.
I mean, they. I think there was concept art. Before Jurassic Park 4 became Jurassic World, they had concept art of like human dinosaur animal hybrids. And in fact, I'll show you because I think they're really neat. And when I first had access to the internet after watching Jurassic Park 3, when I tell you that I was obsessed with the fourth one, like I watched updates all the fucking time. And when this concept art came out, I was floored. Let me show you this. I mean, look at these motherfuckers. Just, I mean, they are fucking fantastic looking. I would have loved to see something like this. You know how insane that would be? They look horrific. Don't get me wrong, I liked how Jurassic World played out. But I wanted this. I wanted this. This thing. Like, what is that? What the fuck is that? I wanted it so bad. It's so fucking horrifying. Look at him. Look at them. God damn, I would have fucking loved to see that shit. Indominus was pretty good though. I'm not gonna sit there and lie. But still, I would have loved to fucking see that.
In The Last of Us universe, the main enemies are zombie-like creatures who were taken over by fungal infection, leading to twisted plant-like bodies. I always thought that was a pretty cool take on zombies. The magic school bus. Alright, who made this list? Just kidding. This is probably referring to either the episode where they travel in the human body at a microscopic level, or the infamous scene where Arnold takes off his helmet in space and dies. The Matrix.
The Magic School Bus. The Meta school bus literally horrified so many kids, like early age kids. Once we got older, we kind of got used to it, but it was kind of terrifying.
I had to think about this one, but I'm guessing this is in reference to the unused human bodies kept in pods, particularly in the scene where Neo wakes up from the Matrix, which is disturbing as hell. There's a couple other weird moments like Neo being consumed by the mirror and Mr. Smith exploding. Metamorphosis.
Oh God, is this talking about the hentai manga?
Metamorphosis is a Kafka novella about a salesman who turns into a giant bug. This is
Oh, thank God.
one of the earliest examples of this horror trope, and it still holds up. The Thing. The Thing is one of the best body horror concepts.
I I tried to get my boyfriend to watch this with me because we can never agree on horror movies to watch together. The only one that we've ever watched together was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Alright? Most of the horror movies that he watches are kind of like B tier slashers. And I tried to get him to watch the thing. Not I should have probably done the prequel first, like the 2012 prequel to the 1980s version. But as soon as he saw the dog transforming, he was out.
On film, particularly the 80s version, since the alien replicates other life forms and has some gnarly transformations. These are top-notch horror thanks to the stellar practical effects. Toy Story, Sid's Toys. Sometimes I forget about the
Dude, the baby on the spider legs.
scene in Toy Story, but I for sure was a little freaked out when Woody meets Sid's mutant toys. That baby doll spider thing is freaky as hell. Two-Face. This Batman villain's burnt-ass face is pretty disturbing, whether it's a more realistic interpretation, like in The Dark Knight, or a more cartoony adaptation. It's pretty grotesque. Werewolf transformation. Werewolf transformations are a staple of horror at this point, and due to the rapid extending of bones and tearing of
I like werewolf transformations, but I'm not gonna lie to you. My favorite was the 2012 rendition of the Wolfman. That shit was gnarly, and it's not that movie's not talked about enough. I think in because of the release of the Wolfman, I believe Disturbed made the animal. I can't remember if it was the 2012 version or if it was just the Wolfman in general that inspired it.
flesh, they fit the body horror bill perfectly. Probably the best example of a good transformation is, of course, American Werewolf in London. Zombies. This one is kind of obvious, but one of the most classic forms of body horror is live, rotting corpses. This film is filled with violence, but one of the most iconic.
Oh God, I remember watching this movie. I think I read the book too. I think we had to read it for high school English, and I don't know, just the depictions of what was going on made me really sick.
Scenes is Alex having his eyes pulled open by a machine and forced to watch footage by doctors who are trying to cure him from evil behavior. Donkey transformations, Pinocchio. This is referring to the scene in Pinocchio when he and another troublemaker, Lampwick, begin to transform into donkeys. Emperor Palpatine's clone. Exactly what it sounds like, this is referring to one of Palpatine's clone attempts and its deformed body.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love Star Wars, but I thought that was the stupidest fucking shit to bring Palpatine back. You could have ended it with Kylo Ren, you know, eventually realizing all the wrong that he's done, but no, you had to bring Palpatine back. Like, what is wrong with y'all?
H.R. Geiger. Geiger is a Swiss surrealist artist whose art usually focuses on
Was, rest in peace. Also, he did the mic stand for Korn, the biomechanical lady whose the mic sits in their skull cage. Yeah, he did that one. It was super sick. He also did the xenomorph.
on taking the form of the human body and blending it with machines in a weird organic metal hybrid. Also, the dude helped design the alien and Aliens, so cool. Outlast. Outlast is a horror video game following a journalist who sneaks into a psychiatric hospital that's been overrun by the patients. The deformed bodies of
If y'all watch Daz Games, his playthrough of Outlast was great. Uh, the twins, you know, the naked twins, he called them the penis twins. It was really fucking funny.
some of the patients is even more disturbing because a lot of the game is seen through the player's night vision camcorder. The Evil Dead. This one kind of goes without saying. Evil Dead is one of the most iconic horror films of all time about a group of young people who stay in a cabin in the woods and accidentally summon an evil presence.
I'm not gonna lie, I really liked all the Evil Dead movies, but my favorite had to be the 2012 Evil Dead. There was just something about it that just made it stand out to me, and I can't put my finger on it.
Deadite possession of the human bodies, plus the disgusting stop motion corpse disintegration, are at the top of the horror food chain. The human centipede. Another obvious one.
Honestly, I love the body horror in Human Centipede, but I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that really threw me off was how meta the sequels were.
Human Centipede is about an evil German scientist who kidnaps 3 tourists and surgically attaches them ass to mouth to form a human centipede. The Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls has some surprisingly dark episodes. Since the girls were created in a lab by the professor, this kind of makes way for some body horror. Like an episode where the professor's old college roommate mass produces knockoff Powerpuff Girls that all have weird deformities. Or when the girls themselves try to make a 4th sister and end up making a monstrosity. The X-Files. Man, I don't even know where to start with the X-Files, but
Man, the X Files is some crazy fucking shit. Sometimes I feel like I was on an acid trip. The movie was pretty good too.
two of the most disturbing examples off the bat are the Fluke Men, which is a creature byproduct of radiation, and at this point is just an iconic image, and an episode which features a man who can regrow limbs. Undertale. Undertale is the beloved indie game featuring a human falling below the earth into a realm of monsters, and along the way he meets all kinds of disturbing humanoid characters. One particularly
I've drawn Omega Flowey before. Super sick.
creepy character is Flowey, who transforms into the monstrosity Omega Flowey. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This could be referring to the Oompa Loompas, but mostly Violet eating the 3-course meal gum and turning into a giant blueberry.
Oh yeah, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory made it 10 times more horrifying.
Okay, so that's all the Tier 1 add-ons. Let's just get straight to Tier 2. Real Monsters. Real Monsters is a kind of bizarre cartoon
I was wondering where that character came from. I've only seen him a couple times, but I was like, where the fuck is that from?
from the 90s following 3 young monsters as they learn to become scary. The whole show is really body horror as the monsters take strange humanoid forms, but Crumb always particularly skeeved me out. All Tomorrows. All Tomorrows, a billion-year chronicle of the myriad species and mixed fortunes of man, is a 2006 work of speculative evolution written and illustrated by Turkish artist C.M. Kozman.
These are super cool. I definitely recommend that you take a look at All Tomorrow.
Explores a hypothetical future path of human evolution set from the near future to a billion years from the present. It's an interesting science fiction book, and the illustrations are definitely creepy, especially since some of the future human species don't just evolve through natural means, but through genetic engineering conducted by both humans themselves and by a mysterious and superior alien species called the Q. Angels of Paradiso, Bayonetta. These angels, which serve as antagonists in the Bayonetta series, have usually distorted humanoid bodies. Animal Man.
I love Bayonetta. It's a great game. Um, it it's funny because I didn't play Bayonetta until my teens, but I played this knockoff called Bullet Witch, and I think if you watch Moist Critical, he did a playthrough of it. I think the only place you could find it now is on Steam. Like it's not. I played it on Xbox when the 360 first came out. I had a first gen 360, but it was one of the few that didn't have the Red Ring of Death issue. And Bullet Witch was one of my favorite games. I would play it all the time. I absolutely loved it. Bayonetta is just a better version of that because it came first.
Animal Man is a DC hero with the power to mimic the abilities of animals. On occasion, he'll actually change his physical form to exhibit these. Animation memes. This is referring to creepy horror animation memes that pop up all over YouTube. Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Aqua Teen is centered around
Aqua Teen Hunger Force is a great show, but it is weird.
3 living fast food items, so you already have some body horror there. But then add on several disturbing episodes, like one where in an attempt to get a girl he's stalking, Frylock melts her boyfriend in public. The guy attempts to put his corpse back together and tapes his brain on top of it. Jeez. There's also several episodes where characters are disfigured in different ways, like when a broadcast signal causes people's noses to bleed and heads to swell up, and when Carl puts on an alien-infected clown wig that starts mutating his body to look like a clown. Batman Beyond. There's actually several disturbing things in Batman Beyond, like when Bane's caretaker starts making venom batches that he eventually gets thrown into and bulges out in an unsettling way. Battle for Dream.
And one of the most unsettling body horrors for me was when the young Robin became the new Joker. Hold on one second, I gotta take this call.
This is a web series about a bunch of.
Sorry, chat. My old man was talking to me on the phone, and we were talking about his job situation. He just got back from D&D and has to go straight to work. So, and I have an overnight shift, so I won't see him till tomorrow morning. So, forgive me for being quiet for a minute.
Anthropomorphic objects competing to win an island. The show features a lot of death and hints at the characters having human anatomy. Bendy and the Ink Machine. This is an indie game where you play as a retired animator who is invited back to his old studio by letter.
Yeah, Bendy and the Ink Machine was absolutely insane. Definitely play it if you can.
Gets there, he finds that the place is saturated with paranormal activity, including demons in the form of twisted cartoon characters. I feel like I gotta play this one. It sounds cool. BioShock. I mean, what can I say about BioShock? It's one of the best FPS games of the 2000s.
BioShock is amazing.
And has probably the most original world design as well. But enough gushing, the game has all kinds of twisted body horror, but the most obvious is the splicers, who are mentally and physically deformed by overusing Adam, which is a chemical substance that rewrites DNA. If that's not bad enough, some of the splicers' distorted faces are due to a plastic surgeon that went completely insane and started fucking up people's faces as if it was Picasso-like art. Brothers Grimm fairy tales.
I mean, Grimm's Fairy Tales is like, it's like one of those Need I Say More books. Like, there's so much body horror in there.
Actually been planning on doing a full video on Grimm's fairy tales because they're way more crazy than I originally thought. As far as the body horror, probably one of the best examples is the original Cinderella story, where in order to fit their feet into the slipper, the evil stepsisters cut off part of their feet, like a toe or a heel, which actually fools the dumbass prince for a little bit until he sees the blood. Bugsnax. Bugsnax is a cute and fun pet collection kind of game like Pokemon, except for
It's kind of uncomfortable, not gonna lie.
the fact that the inhabitants of this island can morph their body by eating these creatures. It's really weird when you first help a villager turn his limbs into food items, like, what the hell? Cabin Fever. This is an Eli Roth movie, so it's got a ton of violence, gore, and murder. But it's basically about college friends who get a cabin in the woods and end up contracting a virus that starts to cause their bodies to rot. Gross.
Decomposition is always creepy. Candle Cove. Let's talk about Candle Cove for a minute. Candle Cove was a creepypasta written in the idea of an old forum post. There's a series on Netflix. Well, it was on Netflix and Sci-Fi. It's called Channel Zero, where some of these creepypastas were brought to life, and the first one was Candle Cove. I really liked how they portrayed Candle Cove. I really think Channel Zero should have gotten a lot more credit. It's like American Horror Story for creepypastas. Please go watch it.
Candle Cove. This is a creepypasta about a group of people online who all claim to have watched the same children's show as kids and can't seem to find the show anywhere. The creepy part comes in when they recount some horrifying episodes and characters, like a skeleton named Skin Taker, for instance, who would take skin from children and wear it. Carrion. Carrion is a game where you play as a tentacle monster escaping a facility and killing everything along the way. Chowder. Chowder is another kids' cartoon that features all kinds of
I liked Carrion. It was a really cool reverse monster game. You know how you have those games where there's a giant monster and you have to escape it? It's the opposite, and it's got some really cool features, but some of the puzzles are beyond difficult, not gonna lie. Also, I have binged the entirety of Chowder again when I moved in with my boyfriend, and we quote it on the daily. We also love Adventure Time, but doesn't like regular show. I do, so.
brutal body horror moments, like Chowder having a really gross lamprey mouth, which is a thing I didn't know how to name till this very moment, but just look it up. Or don't. I mean, I don't blame you. Coraline. Coraline showed up in my creepy stop motion video, and
Coraline is getting a remastered edition.
for good reason. It's about a girl who enters an alternate reality and her parents are here, but they're all weird. Everything about them is disturbing, but particularly the way they move and their button eyes, which the mom in this world is trying to sew onto Coraline, so there's that. Danny Phantom. The fact that Danny is half ghost is probably enough, but there are a number of weird scenes in this show, including Bertrand transforming in this particularly freaky scene.
Yeah, it was probably one of the only Butch Hartman shows that actually has some body horror in it. Don't get me wrong, Butch Hartman's kind of a piece of shit, but like his shows did leave a lasting impact on our childhoods. David Firth is still making Salad Fingers videos to this day. You should go check out the new episode.
David Firth. David Firth is a surreal animator and creator of Salad Fingers, although basically everything he does is disturbing in some way. I'd recommend watching Cream or the Sock series. Deceased. This is basically DC's version of Marvel Zombies, where the undead take over the world and the DC heroes have to stop them.
You know why the undead take over the world? Because Darkseid sent a corrupted version of the anti-life equation into everybody's phones, and people using the internet are affected by it. You can't look at TV screens, you can't look at phones, nothing. So yeah, that's why they became zombies.
Dead Space. One of the best horror games ever made, in my opinion, Dead Space features brutal body-altered undead. The most disturbing to me was always the fetuses that attack you, but then you just curb stomp those little shit.
The necromorphs are amazing. Viscera Games, I really wish was still around because they've done an amazing job. If you like Dead Space, check out Dante's Inferno too.
DeviantArt. This one's self-explanatory. Just go to the body horror tag in DeviantArt and have nightmares. Doki Doki Literature Club. This is a psychological horror game disguised as a dating sim. There's a lot to talk about with this one because of the genius way the game progresses, but as far as the body horror goes, there's a scene where you're forced to watch a character's corpse slowly decompose over a weekend, so...
Yeah, Yuri fucking just... it's bad.
Yeah. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared was...
Y'all gotta watch the TV show. Like, if you've watched Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, and you know what I'm talking about, they have an official TV show. It's UK only, but I think there's some reviews on it. So, and I think there's some re-uploads to YouTube so that people can watch it. Please go watch Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. You will not regret it. The TV show expands far more than the YouTube originals, and I was blown the fuck away.
It was one of the first weird horror videos I remember going viral back in the day, and still holds up along with its sequels as very disturbing. Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands is a...
Man, can we talk about Edward Scissorhands for a minute? I really feel like the hair salon assault scene was unnecessary. Am I wrong for saying that? Like, I really feel like it was unnecessary. However, the movie itself is really good. I just feel like it was unnecessary to have that scene in there.
A Tim Burton movie about a humanoid in the form of a teenage boy who is created by a scientist. The scientist dies before completing him, however, leaving him unfinished, which results in him having to replace his hands with scissors. Elden Ring grafting. Elden Ring, like Bloodborne, embraces body horror with many of the enemies being...
I love the way Elden Ring portrays body horror. Shout out to Fat Brett also for doing heavy deep dive lore into different characters so we can understand what is actually going on in Elden Ring, because honestly, without that, I would only have like a fraction of the knowledge that I do.
Grotesque abominations, but I believe this entry is referring to Godric the Grafted, a demigod and boss in Elden Ring, whose creepy body has arms grafted all over it. When players get his health down to half, Godric will graft a dragon's head in place of his own arm. Elsa Gate. I never would have guessed this would show up on the list, oh boy. But I get it, because when the Elsa Gate craziness was in full swing, the videos often featured really disturbing stuff, such as Elsa cutting off her own tongue. Emil Antonelli.
If you don't know about Elsa Gate, it was also like a hidden pedo it was pedo bait, essentially. You know, because children would watch these videos and then like it would have different like just abrupt scenes of like mature content in it that were really uncomfortable, and it was aimed to create a gateway between predators and children.
Mowski's Death, RoboCop. Emil is one of the villainous gang members in RoboCop and meets his demise when accidentally driving into a toxic waste container, which melts and deforms his body in one of the most jarring 80s special effects I've ever seen. Eraserhead. This is one of the weirdest movies ever made, and so it's no surprise it made the list, probably because of this freaky baby creature. Event
If you've played Silent Hill PT, the fetus in the sink looks just like that, only without eyes.
Horizon. One of the unsung sci-fi horrors of the 90s, the premise of Event Horizon is that a spaceship opens up a portal to hell in space. It's a particularly brutal movie with all kinds of disturbing bodily harm happening to, well, everyone. Fallout, The Master. The Master.
So Fallout 2, this is from Fallout 2. And it's kind of sad that we don't get to see him in future games. Like, I know that his story ends in Fallout 2, but like if we got to see him in future games, I bet you it would be fucking terrifying.
Master of Super Mutants, or the Master, is a mutant character in Fallout. He was a normal human before falling into a vat of toxic waste, which horrifically transformed him into this thing. Ugh. Friday Night Funkin' mods. Friday Night Funkin' is a rhythm game, and
There are a lot of really cool Friday Night Funkin' mods. I don't play the game, but the Learning with Pibby mod was great. I think they did a Sonic.exe mod too. Um, I would definitely go check them out. But I think Cold Raven actually covered that there are like actual recreations of gore mixtapes built into some of these mods.
I guess there's mods for it where the characters' bodies are brutalized or mutilated, or maybe I'm wrong. I mean, what the hell? Get Out. It's almost impossible to talk about this one without spoilers, but brain swap, I'll just say that. Gorefield.
R slash I'm sorry, John. My like the best artists that I've seen for Gorefield are Omega Black, Lumpy Touch, William Burke, and Jars Arts. This is a Jars Arts piece, and God, his fucking drawings are insane.
Gorefield is a horror version of Garfield originating from the I'm Sorry John Reddit page, and often takes highly disturbing shapes in order to stalk his victims. Gumball tampers with his DNA. In The Amazing World of Gumball, there's a disturbing scene where Gumball starts messing with his own DNA, which alters his body in various ways, and inevitably he becomes a mass deformed being. Hannibal. I mean, it's a show about Hannibal Lecter. What do you expect? Anyway, there's a bunch of human artwork. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. This was a dark take on Hansel and Gretel, where they grow up to become witch hunters, and apparently there is a ton of brutal witch deaths. Also, I guess a man gets his arms and legs ripped off by ropes. Happy Tree
Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters was pretty good.
Friends. Happy Tree Friends is a web series where cute, fuzzy forest critters murder and mutilate each other in various ways. Has
And themselves.
Been Hotel. Another animated web series, Has Been Hotel follows a demon as she attempts to rehabilitate people in hell as a way to avoid the annual purge, where angels come down
Not just any demon, the daughter of Lucifer himself.
and kill everybody. Needless to say, it's full of disturbing characters and creatures. Hellraiser. Let's ignore the Hulu remake for now and talk about the original film. Also, I know a lot of these entries came from books or they have other forms of media, but I'm going off the iceberg, which is color coded. So, for instance, Hellraiser is purple, labeling it as a film.
If you haven't read the books, you need to read the books and the graphic novels because the movies are very limited in the types of Cenobites that are around, and some of the stories are so much better than a lot of these spat out sequels.
Just wanted to clear that up. Anyway, the film is a bit complicated, but essentially there's a puzzle box that's said to open the gateway to a world of pleasure. This is actually hell, where creatures known as Cenobites, which all are their own examples of body horror, torture people. This isn't a great summary, but you get the idea. Plus, I'd like to do a full explanation video on the Hellraiser series the same way I did with Chucky. Hotline Miami Hallucinations. This is in reference to the final level of Hotline Miami 2 titled Apocalypse, where the character is overdosing on drugs and hallucinates demons.
Hotline Miami is pretty interesting, not gonna lie. I've seen gameplay of Inscription. It's been pretty fucking good.
Inscription. Inscription is a horror card-based game with a spooky atmosphere and creepy-looking competitors. However, a lot of the body horror comes from the fact that you can choose to self-mutilate yourself in order to gain an advantage. For instance, you can poke your own eye out. After the match, you can then choose which eyeball you want to have as a replacement. Inside Jabu Jabu's belly. This is referring...
Okay, so I've played both the Nintendo 64 version and the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time. I don't know about the Nintendo 64 Master Quest, but the 3DS Master Quest made Jabu Jabu even more terrifying. There are fucking cows sticking out of the walls of his stomach.
To the part of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where Link must enter the belly of a great whale in order to rescue the Zora princess and remove the evil inside. Invader Zim. Zim has a lot of just weird body stuff like skin suits, but the darkest episode is probably the Halloween special of Spooky Doom, which features the Nightmare Realm with creatures of twisted and deformed body shapes. Invincible.
And, I mean, enough said. Like, Invincible is fucking insane. If superheroes had real consequences, you know?
The popular animated superhero show takes some really dark turns and is just chock full of brutal kills. Basically, imagine if you saw Superman just ragefully killing people in absolutely devastating ways. Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Goes to Hell is one of the strangest of the Friday the 13th series. The film opens with Jason being blown up by the military and then coming back from hell as a parasite that possesses people's bodies and uses them to kill. Jeff.
Alright. Alright. I have an L take. I don't think that Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are great franchises. They kind of get boring after a while.
The Killer. Jeff the Killer is one of the most iconic creepypastas of all time about a teen who's set on fire by bullies, which disfigures his face and drives him mad, so then he starts killing people. Jolanda Transforms. I think this is referring to Valkyrie profile Lyneth, when Princess Jolanda is unknowingly given a ghoul powder which transforms her into a ghoul, and despite the outdated graphics, or maybe because of them, this scene is still really creepy. Genova.
I do want to say I've never seen this game before, but she looks like the meat dragon from Llamas with Hats.
Final Fantasy VII. Genova is an extraterrestrial life form that lands on the planet. It takes many forms throughout the game, usually with twisted humanoid biology, but there's always this classic blue image of her that I remember. Junji Ito. Junji Ito is probably one of the most well-known manga horror writers and is probably one of the best horror writers of this generation, period. His work includes a plethora of body horror from Uzumaki, which features students turning into slugs, to The Hanging Balloons, which has people being killed by giant versions of their own heads. Yeah, he's weird and great. Large Marge.
We stand Junji Ito in this house. We love body horror. We love weird shit.
Is a character from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I actually mentioned her way back in my creepy stop-motion video, but basically she's a ghost, and after picking up Pee-wee as a hitchhiker, she transforms her face to scare the shit out of him, along with thousands of kids who watch this movie. Little Nightmares.
Little Nightmares is obscenely terrifying. Like, especially because I think 6 becomes kind of similar to these creatures in her own way.
Nightmares might be my favorite indie title of the last decade because it has such a unique style to it. The setting feels like a mix of Tim Burton and Hayao Miyazaki, but the real art comes in the character designs. Each section of the game has you go up against a new boss, which is almost always a nightmarish, deformed humanoid. Lumpy Touch. Lumpy Touch is a YouTube animator who uses pixel art.
Yeah! I really wish he would make, like, an emulated Game Boy style game for Gorefield.
Funny animations that almost always feature horror versions of pop culture characters like Garfield or Walter White. Man After Man. This is similar to All Tomorrows in the fact that it's a book on speculative evolution. Once again, taking a stab at what weird evolutionary forms we might take with some creepy results. Manhunt. Manhunt is a messed up game that actually rewards you the more brutal your kills are.
Manhunt is a very notorious game. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Besides all the violent murders, there's a boss named Pigsy who is a deranged psychopath that wears a pig's head and chases you with a chainsaw. I've never played the game, but I really have to because it seems like a horror fan's treat. Marvel Zombies. Zombies infect the Marvel Universe, starting with the Avengers, and soon super beings begin to eat the entire world population. There's a ton of violent battles like when a
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's talk about this because in one section they managed to eat the Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer gained the power cosmic and eat Galactus, and then they go around eating different universes.
A living Magneto uses Zombie Cap's shield to cut part of his head off. The thing that's most disturbing about Marvel Zombies is that once they fed on flesh, they gain back their sanity for a short period of time and have to lament over what they've done. Peter Parker ate Aunt May, for instance. Also, their bodies are decaying.
Peter had the most fucking horrifying crisis in Marvel Zombies because he's like, we used to be heroes. We we used to be heroes, and it is fucking insane. He's like, we used to be good people. What? Why are we doing this to ourselves and to the world?
And when Hulk is done feeding, he turns back into Banner, but his stomach is too small, so the body parts that Hulk ate tear out of his stomach. It's disgusting, man. Meat Canyon. Meat Canyon is probably one of my favorite current YouTube animators. He's known for his brutal caricatures and parody.
The Jawbreaker one was fucking insane.
These are often well-known characters from kids shows or more lighthearted media, except he always puts a dark twist, turning them into killers, demons, or otherwise freaky-ass creatures. Honestly, it's A-plus content. Midsummer, another one that I don't want to spoil, but there are just some really disturbing scenes in this movie involving ritualistic murder. Old. The premise of Old is that a family vacations on an island but suddenly begin to rapidly age, which is highly disturbing. Over the Garden Wall. Over the Garden Wall follows two half-brothers as they travel through a forest to find their way home, all the while being chased by Eldritch-style horror creatures.
Over the Garden Wall is kind of insane.
Pamtree. Pamtree is one of those weird 3D animation YouTube channels that makes videos with popular children's show characters, except that they're always distorted and doing disturbing stuff. You know, that kind of channel.
The Sea Bear. Santiago. Go watch fucking Pantry. I promise you won't be disappointed, but you'll probably be like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is about a girl during the Spanish Revolution who crosses between the real world and the underworld, interacting with different creatures, some of who are absolute nightmare fuel. Phineas and Ferb. Like
I love the Pale Man.
a lot of the other cartoons on this list, Phineas and Ferb has its moments of light body horror, like when Candace accidentally melts herself down into a liquid, which a bird thrashes around in, splitting her into multiple forms. Photoshop disasters. It's exactly how it sounds. Disturbing Photoshop fails that make it look like people in the photos are missing limbs, have extra limbs, or are otherwise disfigured.
Photoshop fails are great.
Pibby. Pibby is a proof of concept short that ran on Adult Swim. It starts as just an educational children's show until a strange black liquid consumes the world. Later, Pibby discovers other worlds which are actually other TV shows that are being consumed by the liquid, turning iconic cartoons into nightmares. This is a movie.
I really wish Learning with Pibby would have gotten a full fledged series. Like, it got greenlit and everything. I don't know what was stopping them.
About a family being haunted by ghosts, and all kinds of crazy shit happens in this movie. As far as body horror goes, there's a scene where a man starts tearing his face off in a crazy hallucination, and the chunks of his face build up in the sink. It's really gross.
Poltergeist was fucking terrifying.
Possessor. Possessor is a 2020 psychological thriller about a company that uses brain implants to use people's bodies in order to assassinate targets. Postal 1/Redux load screens. These loading screens often feature mutilated or disfigured humans, and they're just really creepy.
The teeth!
Postal Brain Damaged. Brain Damage, the retro shooter take on the Postal series, all takes place in the dude's damaged brain. This leads to some off-putting enemy types. Pringles Funny Boy commercial. The Pringles Funny Boy commercial, also known as the couch commercial, features
I'm going to assume this is stop motion, but oh my god. They look like Garbage Pail Kids.
a little boy and his sister goofing off with Pringles. The only thing is, their heads are a strange stop-motion CGI effect, and it's really unsettling. Project Graham. Project Graham is one of the strangest PSAs ever. It's all
I think Project Graham, they kind of made his body to where it would be invulnerable to car crashes. Am I remembering that correctly?
Under the premise that our bodies are not designed to survive car crashes. But what if they were? An artist designed what someone might look like who did evolve to withstand car wrecks, and the results are, ugh. I went into depth on this in my disturbing PSA video if you want to check that out. Reanimator. One of my favorite 80s horror movies for sure. Reanimator is about a college student, Herbert West, who manages to take a serum to bring the dead to life, starting with a cat. It's typical zombie stuff, although we can't forget that classic zombie head with bat wings scene.
Yeah, we can't.
Robot Chicken. As you can tell by this list already, stop motion really lends itself to body horror, and so it's no surprise despite being a comedy show that Robot Chicken pulls off some disturbing stuff. One good example is a bit where Helga from Hey Arnold completes her Arnold shrine by cutting off his head and wearing it like a mask. Ruined.
Not just cutting off his head, fucking degloving it and wearing the skin. Not even the fucking head. Like she the way it looks is so awful.
I believe this is referring to the novel about tourists who end up trapped on a vine-covered hill. If they leave the hill, tribe members will kill them, but the vines on the hill are acidic and feed on
The Ruins got a movie adaptation too.
flesh. As they try to survive, the group takes major bodily harm in various ways, including one person's leg being eaten down to the bone by the vines. Salad Fingers. Salad Fingers is David Firth's most popular series and is one of the earliest of this kind of comedy horror on YouTube. There's too much body horror to count, but one of my favorites is when he makes himself a little brother by sewing flesh onto a doll. Samurai Jack. In the Jack Tales episode, Jack encounters a seemingly human family who turn out to be metal-eating robots. The robots, in a fit of hunger, rip each other to shreds, and the insides of the robots look like human flesh.
It's so gross.
Saw. This one's obvious, but the Saw movies are all based around people having to mutilate their own bodies in order to survive. Scary stories to tell.
I will admit, some of these traps are literally unsurvivable, but I also feel like John Kramer has a power trip.
In the dark. This is probably referring to the scene in the movie where a character starts turning into a scarecrow, which is really cool. SCP Foundation. The SCP Foundation is a whole bag of worms. If you don't know what it is, just go to the website and start exploring, but there are multiple SCPs with disturbing body horror elements. Shrek's Baby Nightmare. This is referring to a scene in Shrek the Third where Shrek has a nightmare that dozens of babies start attacking him. It's just really creepy. Slenderman.
But it's creepy, but it's not that bad. Also, let's talk about Slenderman for a minute. The 2010 movie is ass. I don't give a fuck what you say. Marble Hornets did it best, and then Everyman Hybrid also made it even better. Slender the Arrival is the only video game to ever give me nightmares.
Slenderman's distorted body is part of what makes him so disturbing. Species. Species follows a human-alien hybrid attempting to mate with more humans and often killing them in a brutal fashion. She looks human but sometimes turns into her alien form, which is pretty ugly. Steven Universe and Future. Steven Universe, like a lot of these other shows, features several strange abominations. Teeth for Two, Cat Dog. In this episode, Cat Dog realizes at a dentist appointment that whatever one of them does to their teeth affects the other. So Cat tries to make sure Dog's teeth stay clean, and I'm pretty sure this made the list because of one particular scene. Cat attempts to brush Dog's teeth while he's sleeping, and when he can't manage to do it normally, he turns himself inside out so that he can crawl from inside of their body out of Dog's mouth, and holy shit, that's...
It is disgusting. Also, if you haven't seen the scientifically accurate YouTube series, the way they did Cat Dog was terrifying.
Disturbing. Blob. The 1988 Blob in particular has some really creepy body horror stuff thanks to the practical effects used when someone's consumed by the blob, like the phone booth scene for instance. The Cabin in the Woods. This is
The Cabin in the Woods is the closest thing to an SCP horror movie, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
Really cool take on a horror movie, and I won't spoil much, but there are a lot of kills and some really disturbing creatures as well. The Cuphead Show. The fact that the characters are living cups, I guess. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Out of all the kids shows on this list,
Flapjack is one of the most disturbing cartoons from the 2010s, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
this might be the most chock full of creepy stuff. One scene that stands out to me is when there's this creepy stop motion character out of nowhere. It's a 2D show, and that just always looks freaky. The Psychiatrist Transformation, Katana Zero. Katana Zero is a stylish action platformer indie game. In the game, the psychiatrist assigns missions to Zero. However, if you take every opportunity to make him angry, you can unlock a hidden boss fight with him. Once you've damaged him enough, he transforms
Oh my god!
into, well, basically a lump of flesh with multiple eyes and little fetuses crawling out of him. Not to mention his syringe tentacle. The Residents music videos. This is a series of bizarre artistic music videos that I would not watch late at night. Most of the videos feature deformed humanoids or monsters, and everything is just off in really weird ways.
My guy, have you seen the Tool music videos?
This one's just hard to explain. I suggest you just go watch it on YouTube. There's a whole playlist. The Spectacular Spider-Man, Connor turns into the Lizard. This one speaks for itself, but Connor turning into a lizard in this series
His name is not Connor. It's Dr. Kurt Connors.
is particularly more unsettling than some of the other cartoon adaptations. The Wattersons turn into model citizens. This is referring to an episode of The Amazing World of Gumball where the Watterson family transforms into picturesque looking humans through a brutally disturbing process.
That's horrifying. I haven't seen that episode.
Thunder's death, Big Trouble in Little China. Thunder is essentially a mini-boss in Big Trouble in Little China who, through some strange technique, blows himself up. His body takes a puffed-up form that's both comical and off-putting.
I've seen the gif of this. I didn't realize this was the movie it came from.
Torchwood Miracle Day. In this Torchwood series, everyone in the world suddenly can't die. In one particularly creepy scene, they show a corpse of a man that was basically at the center of an explosion. His body is completely mutilated, and yet he seems to be alive. They then cut off his head to see what'll happen, and sure enough, his eye's still open.
Ugh. Oh. That reminds me of the guy who, I can't remember his name for the life of me. I think it was Hisama Uchi. I can't remember. He was at the forefront of a nuclear explosion, a nuclear power plant explosion. And his family wanted to keep him alive. And he suffered like radiation decay for 88 days, I think it was. Like, it was bad. There's a whole story on it.
Trevor Henderson. Trevor Henderson is an artist who makes his art look like found footage with distorted creatures in them. I would recommend looking into all of his stuff because it's really cool.
Trevor Henderson is also known for Siren Head, and he's one of the only artists to ever scare Junji Ito.
Ultrakill. Ultrakill is a shooter where you play as a robot that's fuel source is blood. Problem is, humans have been wiped out, so the next logical step is to descend into hell, of course. It being hell, there are all kinds of messed up enemies. Unikitty. In one episode of Unikitty, Hawkadile is turned into a freak with the transformation and all that.
I think Hawkadile is voiced by the Roger Craig Smith, who voices Sonic the Hedgehog.
Username 666. Username 666 is a video pasta that basically takes you down the unfortunate rabbit hole of someone searching the username 666 on YouTube. As a user goes deeper into this channel, more and more disturbing imagery appears, often of humanoid beings.
I do want to talk about... Hey, what's good, Darth Vanquisher? It's good to see you. I do want to talk about username 666 for a second. Because I don't know who the person is that originally made it, but they normally just make, like, ant farm content. Like, they have little ant farms that they, watch and they, study on video. So, when they made username 666, it was completely random. I don't even know what inspired them to do it, but you got us good when it first came out.
Venom. Since Venom is a symbiote, it requires a living host to survive. In Venom's case, he's latched on to Eddie Brock, which is body horror enough to work for this list.
Symbiotes are scary, not gonna lie.
Weird Al Yankovic, Fat. This is obviously a parody of Michael Jackson's mega hit, although in this music video, Weird Al transforms into an extremely obese person, and the fat suit and makeup definitely makes me uncomfortable.
Weird Al has some crazy shit, dude.
What If? What If features a few disturbing sequences, but this is probably referring to the Zombies episode or Doctor Strange turning evil. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? There's an icon.
Obviously, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is gonna be insane. Doesn't he fucking deflate into this? No, the scariest scene was when the villain turned into fucking goop.
Scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where it's revealed that the main bad guy, Judge Doom, is actually a toon, and the transformation scene is just pure nightmare fuel, especially since it starts off with him being smashed by a steamroller. Yume Nikki. Okay, and last but not least, Yume Nikki is a freeware game that released in 2004 and follows a girl exploring her dreams.
I think Yume Nikki also inspired Hylics and Amori, which you should check out. They're both really good games.
The thing is, there are extremely disturbing characters in these dreams. Agamemnon Counterpart. This is a YouTube video of what looks like an animated kids show being highly distorted and a character screaming in a particularly creepy way. Agony. Agony is a first-person video game that takes place in hell.
I'm not gonna lie. When the trailer... Hey! So the Discord is not up yet. I have decided to make one. But it's gonna take me a couple days before I do that, so just give me time on that. Agony. Let's talk about Agony for a minute. I'm not gonna lie, when the trailer for Scorn first came out, I literally thought that it was gonna be like a successor to Agony. And I do want to talk about Scorn because Scorn is an amazing fucking game. But a lot of people don't understand that it's not supposed to be a shooter. It's a puzzle game and it is a experience. It's like a living art gallery essentially. Yes, you can die in it, but at the same time it's supposed to represent death and rebirth. You're supposed to experience this world. And Agony might have been the same concept, which is probably why Agony flopped, but Scorn did pretty well. Oh, yeah, that was just me verbally announcing the Discord. But yes, I will have one eventually.
And really, the whole game is body horror. Even the environments are made of human flesh, and besides demons, there are plenty of deformed people and creatures throughout, with a lot of torture too. Andy Wilson 92. Andy Wilson 92 is a YouTube animator who makes really bizarre 3D animated videos. Often,
this guy reminds me of who was it? Hold on, I'll think about it in a minute. Stream schedule? Probably not, but it will have announcements for streams when they happen. And then once I get enough people, I'll have a mod team too. There'll be a subscriber suggestion channel as well of like videos you want me to cover. I may eventually do a Patreon too, or you can just or buy me a coffee, whichever one. But it will have announcements on streams and on video uploads because I normally directly upload my streams to YouTube. I don't have the time to edit, so I just kind of stream. I don't know. My boyfriend doesn't really use Discord like that. He's not a social media guy, really. I mean, the only thing he really has is YouTube, and I believe he has Snapchat, just to keep up with his cousins. But he doesn't use social media like I do.
Featuring really disturbing looking people and characters. Animorphs. Animorphs was a series of books in the late 90s and into the 2000s that featured kids who gained the ability to morph into animals. There was also a TV show adaptation, Arcane.
Hey, I understand completely. I have an Instagram for my artwork, and then I use Discord, Amino, Twitch, and YouTube. I use Facebook too, because, I mean, family members, but I really fucking hate Facebook.
Is a Netflix show based in League of Legends. In the first episode, Silco is introduced obscured in shadows.
I will say, I hate League of Legends, but I love Arcane. It's such a good series.
Of his hideout, and then nonchalantly injecting something into his eye socket. He then turns around and you can see his left eye glowing in a menacing orange. When he emerges from the shadows, we're giving a healthy dose of body.
I feel that. I'm not a big Facebook fan. I just use it to keep in touch with family.
Body horror, as the left side of his face is revealed to be blackened and scarred, and his left eye being completely black, save for a deformed orange iris. Ben Wheel Henry Eats. Ben Wheel is another YouTube animator, and Henry Eats is a rather creepy video that
Henry Eats is insane.
everyone seems to stumble upon when you're on the weird side of YouTube. It features a zombie-looking man and several other creatures. It's hard to explain exactly what you're watching, so you should just go check it out for yourself. But the characters are good examples of body horror in and of themselves. Blastermaster 02 Eve's Mutation. Blastermaster 0
I have never heard of this fucking game.
is a platforming game, and Eve's Mutation is referring to the android girl, Eve, who is infected by a mutant overlord, and in the second game it begins to
Look at that fucking pixel art, dude. That is sick.
mutate her body. Bowsette Transformation. This is, of course, a fan-made comic turned YouTube animation of Bowser stealing Peach's crown and transforming into Bowsette in a particularly grotesque way. Brian's mushroom.
I've never seen, like, most of the Bowsette transformations don't look like that. I've never seen that before. Ooh, we're about to get into the bad trip Brian had.
Nightmare scene. This is referring to a scene in Family Guy where Brian is tripping on mushrooms, and it really is one body horror situation into the next. Starting with Stewie transforming into a furry creature, then a man whose head attaches to his body using tentacles, Peter being burned alive on a spit, hundreds of bees then sting Brian, who swells up and explodes, and a bunch of little Brians pop out and run away. That's
I'm not gonna lie, this was horrifying, but at the same time, some mushroom trips do end up like this.
just like the first half. Charlie the Unicorn. One of the OG YouTube viral.
Charlie, let's go to Candy Mountain, Charlie. Let's go see the Candy Mountain King. This was a fun series. I'm not gonna lie, the final episode doesn't make sense until halfway through.
Hits. Charlie the Unicorn is about a unicorn, Charlie, trying to chill out when two other unicorns bug the shit out of him until he joins them on a journey that leads Charlie into a forest and eventually a cave where he is knocked out and wakes up with his kidney stolen. Chicken Nugget. Chicken Nugget is a series of short videos featuring cute little critters. It's mostly quick jokes, but there are some comedy horror moments that classify as body horror when the character.
These little critters, I've seen their shorts. Some of them are eldritch gods, and we don't know. We don't know it.
Transform or do unnatural things with their bodies. Chubby Emu. This is a disturbing YouTube channel that features videos explaining what happens to people's bodies after various horrible things happen to them. For instance, a wife puts bleach in her husband's coffee. Here's what happened to his stomach. Cool 3D.
Chicken Nuggy. Well, and the short's name is Nugget. But yeah, we normally call them chicken nuggies. But that one is listed correctly. Also, Cool 3D World. Oh my god. This fucking channel. I don't know who makes this shit. But I've seen some of the videos Daz Games reacted to them. And oh my god, it is in the what the fuck did I just watch category. Some of it is so just horrendously horrifying. Like, they're playing Five Finger Fillet right now with their toes, but they bleed tomato soup. Like, it's legitimately tomato soup, and then they serve it to somebody.
World. This is yet another bizarre animation channel, and actually one of my favorites from the weird side of YouTube. I don't even know how to explain these videos, but they always feature severely deformed.
I can, but I'm not gonna lie, most of these I've seen. Because I've been on YouTube since YouTube's inception. So there's a lot that I've already seen. Unless they bring up some new shit, I mean, there's not much I can do. I grew up on the age of the internet. So it just depends. If we get further down in the tiers and there's some things that I haven't really seen yet, I'll make some notes and do some reviews on them. Good for lurkers to see. Yeah, but most people have grown up on the age of the internet, so let's just see like what the deeper tiers have before we decide what channels we can review, because I don't want to just go over the same old shit, you know?
looking humans or creatures doing very bizarre stuff, and throw in some cringy
See, it's literally tomato soup. It is literally tomato soup.
body horror, like in the video Nail Cut. But my personal favorite video is A Life Well Lived. Corridor. Corridor is a YouTube
Corridor Digital makes some really good shit. Yeah, no, I totally understand. Uh, I grew up on a lot of these channels. Corridor Digital makes some really amazing shit. The Nintendo glitch one that is showing right here, is probably one of the most horrifying, especially with Mario.
channel run by multiple people known for their gorgeous visual effects. This entry refers mostly to The Glitch, a short film they made where video game characters experience glitches, and we see Mario's head distorting in a very creepy manner. Cruelty Squad. So Cruelty Squad is
Cruelty Squad is okay. If I had to describe Cruelty Squad, it would be literally if you took gore noise and acid, the music genre gore noise and the drug acid, and you fused them together and made a video game out of it.
its own rabbit hole, and there's a lot to get into about the game, but for the
They do. This shit looks amazing and horrifying all at the same time.
sake of this video, the game takes place in a literal world of garbage and features all kinds of humanoid abominations and mutants. Cry of Fear. Cry of Fear was originally a Half-Life mod.
I love Cry of Fear. Like, I remember that was one of the first playthroughs on Markiplier's channel. Cry of Fear is a great game. You should check it out if you haven't.
Before being released as a full game. The game features many really disturbing enemy types that are mostly deformed humans. One enemy, the Drowned, has a baby jump out of its stomach and attack you if you get too close. There's also the Human Flower, which is, Crypt TV. Crypt TV is an entertainment company co-founded by horror icon Eli Roth, and
Okay. I didn't know it was co-founded by Eli Roth. Yeah, pre-SCP. Kinda, because there were SCPs before Cry of Fear. But, Cry of Fear is about a guy's depression and psychosis. And learning to accept it. Crypt TV, though. I didn't know it was co-founded by Eli Roth, but I'm not gonna lie, some of these videos are insane. The Look-See is one of the scariest creatures I've ever seen in my life. I love him. He's great.
mostly creates horror short films with a focus on monsters, including some very popular internet horror creatures like Look-See. DALL-E generated images. AI generated images have been cropping up more and more lately.
I want to talk about this for a minute because I used to be on the Midjourney Discord, and Midjourney is one of the most like advanced AIs for art that you can use. I don't feel like AI art is real art, because it does steal from a database of other artists. But I will say this: they are more accurate with horror than any other genre.
And there's no slacking in the horror department, as people have oftentimes accidentally made horror monstrosities using DALL-E and other AI image creators. I actually made a whole video about Loeb, an AI created cryptid who
Yeah, that would be a really good idea. Once I get the Discord up, I will link it in the description of my streams and videos. We can add that to the list of suggestions. Definitely. And on top of that, we should definitely have a day where we take a look at Cabin in the Woods, because that's the closest thing to a feature-length SCP movie that we're ever gonna get.
who's almost always associated with body horror. Death Battle. This is a web series that pits two opponents together in a battle to the death. The contenders are often fictional and pop culture characters from varying mediums. The thing
Death Battle is insane. Also, go support Death Battle. They've become independent and they need your help to produce new episodes.
is the actual deaths are completely horrific, and this is particularly interesting because a lot of the characters are from PG content. Don Hertzfeld's couch gag. This is a Simpsons house gag where Homer moves forward through time using a TV remote, which manipulates his body in weird ways, and finally he morphs into a black and white squid-like creature, along
I remember this one.
with the rest of the family.
I don't know if every 2 weeks we can do it, but I definitely feel like we can find like a routine. It depends on my off days because I know I'm going to sleep most of the day. This was really cool. There's a whole psychological review on this couch gag right here. Um, I definitely recommend taking a look at it.
Family who have changed into other strange creatures. Drake's Sprite commercial. This is a weird Sprite commercial where Drake is in the studio and drinks a Sprite, which suddenly segments his skin away from his body and reveals his mechanical insides.
I mean, the way he goes after little kids, I wouldn't be surprised.
What the hell? Drath Possession, Daughter of the Lilies. I haven't read this comic, but from what I understand, in this fantasy world, the Drath are creatures that can merge with living beings and possess them, and the results can be really freaky, like this rat, for instance.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
Drunk. Drunk is a music video by the Living Tombstone featuring a man getting, well, drunk. And as
I didn't know the Living Tombstone made music videos like this.
he does this, the character's body begins randomly deforming in different ways, and not to mention the strange laughing faces in the background. Dusk. Dusk is a retro-inspired FPS in the same vein as Doom, where the player is captured and nearly killed by a cult before fighting his way out.
This feels more like Quake than Doom.
The game features a lot of really messed up enemy types, from mutilated goats and dogs, reanimated corpses, and probably the most disturbing is the cowgirl, whose cowboy hat is grafted to her skull, as well as all her limbs replaced with weapons. Die Fantasy. Die Fantasy is an
This is a very interesting video. It randomly came up on my YouTube feed a few years ago, and it's horrific, but it's supposed to like display loss of innocence as you go from adolescence to adulthood. It's still really creepy, and it's got like a very interesting way of showing body.
an animated music video that starts off real cool and shows a couple of friends sneaking into the school pool for a midnight dip. When halfway through the video, shit gets really weird. A couple starts making out, and this involves some heavy petting, when before you know it, the guy's arm transforms into a giant eel-like creature that has basically impaled his girlfriend through her snatch. Yeah, and that's just the start of it. Next, the girl turns into an alligator-like abomination that bites a guy's junk off. Seriously,
Also, at the end, it shows Yog Sothoth, and the sole survivor of this whole event gets evaporated.
it just gets crazier from there, so just go check it out. 1000 Ways to Die. This was
Do y'all remember watching this on FX? I fucking do. It was such a weird show, but it kind of emphasized that people are made of meat.
a Spike TV show that took actual stories of people dying in different ways and then recreated the scenarios with actors. It's kind of a goofy show, but interesting, and there are some cringeworthy and disturbing deaths for sure. Luckily, the show has a nightmare retardant in the form of comedic style and over the top acting. YouTube poop.
Mm, this parody of this music video is insane. Yeah, A Thousand Ways to Die is pretty goated. Um, I may not be able to finish this iceberg today. I may have to switch to another one and then come back for a part two.
Gautier knows somebody that he used. This is a YouTube poop video where the somebody that I used to know video is severely edited so that the lyrics are reorganized to say things like, now and then I think of you naked, which might be the least disturbing thing in the video, and the visuals are edited so that the dude constantly has strange stuff happening to his body. My personal
It's so weird.
favorite is when they add a bunch of nipples to him. Ace's High Art, Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is an isometric RPG that has the player solving a case as a detective.
I've never seen this game, but it looks creepy as hell. That looks like the fucking library from Resident Evil 2. Not Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil.
But this entry is specifically about a thought, which to my understanding is kind of like a skill in the game, that each have unique art, and this skill, being Ace's High, has a particularly disturbing image which seems to be that of a melting, stretched out humanoid surrounded by
It's a melted airplane pilot.
other strange deformed beings. Weird. Every 90s commercial ever. Every 90s commercial ever is a YouTube video that starts off seeming like a typical 90s commercial parody.
Yeah, I gotta get the money for Resi 7 and 8. I will admit, I have to get the money for that. I'm kind of on a budget right now. But I like that they started this commercial with the big slam. Respect the pouch.
Parody with a Capri Sun like drink, and of course some weird visual effects where the kids drink the stuff and then they turn into a silver liquid that can fly through the air. But this video takes one of the hardest left turns in YouTube history when the kids in liquid form show up to the park and turn back human, only their bodies have...
Whoa! Yeah, my laptop can run it. It's not that it can't. It's just like I'm on a budget. This laptop is a MSI gaming laptop. It was like four grand. My parents gave it to me as a gift when I came back to Texas. I've been able to play Hellblade 2, Scorn, and an emulated port of Silent Hill PT just fine. So I'm pretty sure that I can run Resi 7 and 8.
Merged together into an extremely disturbing abomination that starts killing the other kids. It's awesome. Failed Clones, Eddsworld. Eddsworld is a British web series about a group of young adults getting into constant shenanigans, and it started off on Newgrounds, but is basically everywhere now.
It kind of reminds me of Riddle School.
I just wanted to mention Newgrounds because I freaking love that site. Anyway, in one episode, the gang gets clones made from them, and they all have weird defects. Farscape, a Clockwork Nabari. In this episode of the weird-ass sci-fi show Farscape, aliens use a process they call mind cleansing, which looks pretty similar to a Clockwork Orange, hence the title. Basically, they stretch the person's eyelids open and implant a...
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. I'm just like, I gotta wait at least a couple paydays in so I have some backup funds for luxuries. That's all that it really is to it. Um, because I pay a lot of the bills in the house. Well, we both do, but my boyfriend handles the rent and the electric, and I handle gas, water, and our subscriptions. So, and my phone bill. So I gotta really like make sure that I'm taking care of everything too. That's the only reason that I say like I'm on a budget because I have a lot of bills.
Drug behind their eyes in order to stop them from certain impulses. Sorry to any Farscape fans if I messed that up. Fur Affinity. Fur Affinity is...
What the fuck is that? Do you see this shit? What the fuck is that? Oh my god. That's fucking horrifying. Uncle Bill keeps his hand in everyone's cookie jar. You're right. You're right. But dog, what is that? What is that? That's gross.
The furry fandom's largest online community, focusing on the promotion of art, music, and stories. Technically, furries can be considered body horror in and of itself, but the furry fandom definitely includes lots of weird gore porn as well. I didn't expect this iceberg to take me to the official wiki of furries, but here we are. Galaxy Quest. Galaxy Quest is a Star Trek parody starring Tim Allen.
Never surrender. This was really good. Alan Rickman did a great job in this.
That's considered by some to be the best Star Trek movie ever made. This is referring to the scene where...
They did. It was like Foxy from FNAF with like a Sukuna style transformation.
where they need to beam up the captain but haven't quite gotten the teleporter to work.
Whoa! I forgot about that. I haven't seen Galaxy Quest in a minute. But oh!
They tested out on a pig lizard and it does teleport it, but it also appears inside out and explodes. Generator Rex. This is a Cartoon Network show.
I love Generator Rex. Generator Rex was gas.
Where the whole plot revolves around any living creature on Earth turning into monsters at random due to being infected by a global contamination of nanomachines. So basically anyone could have their own little body horror nightmare at any time. Golden Light. This is yet another video game with just fucked up, disfigured enemies. It's also another game that sounds absolutely fascinating, and
I've never heard of this game, but oh my god.
Definitely want to play it. Hamburger Lady. This is a song where the lyrics had been taken from a letter a doctor wrote about a patient who was so badly burned she looked like hamburger meat, which is where she got the nickname. So, yeah.
I think I've seen the music video for Hamburger Lady, and yeah, it's pretty much like that.
Easy listening. Harvester. Harvester is a 90s point and click adventure game where a teenage kid wakes up in a strange town having no idea how he got there. The town is full of strange people who all have a messed up sense of morality, and it's one of those things where it could be a whole video in and of itself, but there are some extremely unsettling scenes in this, most notably an infant's eyeballs popping out and a
I thought this was a movie at first.
woman being eaten alive by her own children, which she seems to not be bothered by. Okay, at this point, I'm thinking of doing a live stream playing this game because it just sounds completely bonkers.
What the fuck? Yo!
Hell on Kitty. This is a strange animated video showcasing the day that Hello Kitty realized she has no mouth. Homer's face couch gag. This is a really weird Simpsons couch gag where Homer's just staring at the camera as his face is distorted in various ways. It's
This one was weird. It was weird.
more cool than disturbing in my opinion because the art style is really interesting. Homestar Runner. Homestar Runner is a 2000s web series that was pretty popular back in the day.
Okay, don't quote me, but the guy who plays the main character sounds a lot like Teen Titans as Robin.
In one tune, if you choose the Akira option, a stickman's arms turn into a grotesque tentacle. How to get ahead in advertising. This is a really weird British dark comedy about an ad executive who has a meltdown and shortly after develops a boil on his shoulder that begins to talk to him. It eventually grows into a second head. How the hell have I not heard
What the fuck? Yeah, don't quote me. That is the worst thing you can do because of my hee-hoo brain.
of this? This is what I love about icebergs. Imagine Dome. I believe this is referring to a no longer existing YouTube series that features some highly creepy videos from what appear to be a mentally unstable person. The videos vary to some degree, but the most disturbing are the ones featuring a baby's head spinning around its body, and then a video of Jesus Christ doing the same thing. Inside 2016.
Inside was insane. When you turn into the blob, it's just fucking terrifying.
Inside is a platformer game where a boy makes his way through several environments while avoiding capture. It's a very vague story as there's no exposition or dialogue, but I'm sure this made the list based on the ending of the game.
Yeah, it is. It does look like that one Family Guy episode.
So, spoilers ahead, but eventually the boy makes his way to a chamber where scientists are studying a strange blob-like creature that's made up of what appears to be human bodies. Azumi Kato. Azumi Kato is an artist known for making surreal depictions of humans who are always very strange looking. Jimmy Neutron Happy.
One of those fucking drawings is of the original SCP-073 Peanut. I think yeah. I think that was the original painting that got parodied into a stone sculpture. Now, the new SCP-03 looks nothing. 073 looks nothing like that anymore, but they used to. They used to look like that.
Family Happy Hour. The weird side of YouTube strikes again, and this is a
The pizza has become aggressive.
classic. It features Jimmy Neutron and his dad ordering pizza after Jimmy's dad kills his mom. It's crudely animated and just really strange, but that's what makes it funny. Joe Blandimer. Joe Blandimer is an animator specializing in claymation, and in his
Whoa.
videos often feature horror elements and gore. One video titled The Vacuum is simply a man vacuuming his own face off. Joker's Face. I think this one is simply meaning Joker's face from the Batman comics. I'd like to particularly point to Death in the Family, where
Yeah, Death in the Family. He cut off his own fucking face and wore it as a mask.
Joker cuts off his own face and then crudely staples it back on. Just Shapes and Beats, Destroyed. Just Shapes and Beats is an action rhythm video game that consists of multiple levels based around individual tracks by independent artists in dubstep, trap music, and chiptune genres. Players control one small shape, surviving via dodging a variety of attacks such
It's a bullet hell game.
as huge beams, bouncing waves, snake-like spirals, and pulsating shapes. The attacks appear and move in rhythm to the music, with difficulty increasing the farther the players progress. Destroyed is referring to the final boss of the game, a floating head that gets more and more severely damaged as the battle goes on. Kane Pixels, The Backrooms. This is
Heath Ledger goated version. he is a goated version, but I also love Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Just for how demented he is. They both are pretty goated. I'm not gonna lie to you.
This is the Backrooms video that popped off last year and just blew up the Backrooms. The video is really amazing and
Funny story. On TikTok, when I actually cared enough to use the platform, I did kind of a Backrooms voice log series where the main character would traverse different levels and leave a audio journal entry. Um, and I worked in this mall. Yeah, I've heard of all the Backrooms games, but I worked in this mall, and in this mall, you can go in if you're an employee before the stores open, because there's this warehouse portion that's built directly into the mall, and it was so cool because it felt like a liminal space, and I did some wacky stuff with it back in the day.
just go watch it if you haven't. But it does feature a creature known in the Backrooms as Entity 6 or a Dolar. These creatures are described as lacking major sensory organs.
I'm glad somebody finally talked about what this entity is because I couldn't find anything on it for the life of me.
The substance that their skin is composed of is in a constant state of toggling from liquid to solid. Clay World. I'm so glad this made the list. I mentioned Newgrounds earlier, and when it comes to fond Newgrounds memories, Clay World is at the top of the heap. Clay World was created by Robert Benfer, who is the same guy who made Llamas with Hats, among other popular animated
Oh, so he was part of Film Cow.
series, but Clay World was the OG. Anyway, the show featured clay people with no discernible features in comedic situations that often became violent with plenty of blood and gore. Lee Hardcastle, another.
Okay, so let me tell you about Lee Hardcastle. This guy is an amazing stop motion animator. He's also done uh some Simpsons horror animations, but he's most famously known for his features in ABCs of Death, the movies. If you haven't seen ABCs of Death, make sure you have a strong stomach. But Lee Hardcastle's toilet animation was great for it.
Animators specializing in stop motion, Lee Hardcastle has several really disturbing videos. One that stands out is called Adult Babies, which features strange rat-like creatures. Leprechaun. Oh boy, do I love Leprechaun. It's a series
My boyfriend loves Leprechaun. I never could get into it.
of movies that ask the question, hey, what if leprechauns were actually evil and would kill people in brutal ways in order to get their gold? The series features a lot of gore, like in Leprechaun 4 in Space, where the leprechaun jumps out of a guy's penis. No, seriously, look it up. But focusing on the first film, one of the characters eats a piece of the leprechaun's gold, and he tries to rip it out of the guy's stomach before being melted into green grossness. Also, I just gotta mention that they made a recent sequel to this movie that starts with the leprechaun crawling out of the guy's stomach with the gold piece, and it's actually the same actor from the original. That's
God damn.
pretty awesome. Lisa. This game features several examples of body horror, like the Joy Mutants, who were humans who took too much of a drug called Joy and became abominations.
Alrighty, you be safe and you have a good one. Thank you for hopping by again.
Particularly one named Peter, whose limbs have stretched out like a spider. Life 7, Garfield, His 9 Lives. Man, this is a weird one. So at some point this comic came out where Garfield is depicted in 9 different stories with vastly different
Why does that look like a Dawn Bluth animation?
animation styles that take a more serious tone than the typical lovable Garfield. In the seventh life, Garfield is being experimented on in a military research facility where he manages to escape, and by the end of the video, he transforms into a dog. It's really weird, man. Llamas with hats. Robert Benfer's colossal YouTube sensation features two llamas wearing hats
There's 12 episodes of Llamas with Hats,
in
by the way.
increasingly stressful situations, as one llama, Carl, is basically a psychopath murderer. In the very first episode, he eats a man's arms off, for instance. Mad. Mad was a robot chicken-like show on Cartoon Network that often parodied.
Mad was also a comic series. I think a lot of people forget about that. I think the most horrific body horror scenes in Mad to me were when they combined Toys R Us with Saw.
Celebrities and current pop culture. I think it's on the list because the way the characters are animated is pretty freaky. Mad Rat Dead. Mad Rat Dead is a rhythm game where you play as a rat who's seeking revenge on his human scientist owner after coming back from the dead Frankenstein style. Made in Abyss. This manga is
Okay, we need to talk about Made in Abyss before we go further. Made in Abyss is a very controversial manga and anime. I'm sorry, but I really do think the manga writer is a straight up pedophile. Like it doesn't. There are scenes in the anime that are kind of disturbing. I mean, obviously the body horror, but I'm talking about like other topics. But in the manga, there's like straight up fetishization towards the end of the manga. So I just want to clear that up for a second.
is apparently chock full of disturbing moments as the characters ascend into the titular abyss. At one point, a character gets turned into a mindless blob creature, and I guess the main character's mother discovered a device where if you put meat inside of it, the meat comes back to life. It doesn't matter what kind of meat it is, it could be a chicken nugget, and it'll
Yeah, that that's one of the scariest body horror scenes I've seen.
suddenly come back to life. So the idea is that the main character was born a dead fetus, and that the mother put her into this device to live. I'm not sure if that last part is just a fan theory or actually in the manga, but my god, that's disturbing. Madness Combat. Madness Combat is another Flash series following the character Hank in his endeavors in killing his foes.
If I remember correctly, this same guy made Welcome to the Game.
The show features brutal and excessive blood and gore. Magic the Gathering. Magic cards feature amazing artwork from a plethora of artists, and its dark world features a lot of creepy and off-putting artwork, including plenty of flesh-garbled body horror.
Let's not forget the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi are terrifying.
Spider. I might be wrong on this, but I believe this is referring to the Spider-Man storyline where Peter actually starts to transform into a giant man-spider hybrid. Marble Hornets. So, as far as I understand, Marble Hornets is a web series that features a Slenderman-like entity known as the Operator. Marilyn Manson ripping his own chest.
Okay. Give me 1 second, chat. I gotta go take care of my dog. I will be right back. And then we'll hop back on this. But I gotta go give my dog some water. Alright, Chad, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Open, Clone High. Wow, so, okay, there's an episode of this cartoon called Clone High where Marilyn
Clone High was made by the same people who made Total Drama Island.
Manson sings a song about the importance of the food pyramid and does indeed rip his own chest open. This is one of those things where I wonder if I've skipped into an alternate timeline. I mean, why does this exist? But then again, they've made Wendy's Frosty into a cereal, so what do I know? Marvel Zombies, the spoof trailer. So there's a spoof trailer for Marvel Zombies that features Aunt May all eaten up and stuff. Meet Arnold. This is like the Chubby Emu channel I mentioned earlier, except in a totally goofy tone.
Interesting. It looks like this dude kind of cranks out these videos all at once.
Each video features the character Arnold as he deals with horrible effects happening to his body, all just to satisfy people's morbid curiosity. Momo. I'm sure you've seen images of Momo floating. Around the internet before, and might recall the controversy when her disturbing face kept showing up on kids' YouTube and pissing parents off. Monster Hunter movie. There's some aspects of the Monster Hunter movie that straight up play like a horror movie. Like when one character, Link, is found alive after an attack in a cave, that's also under Skrill-ness. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. though he can barely move and one of his arms doesn't work. As they get near the exit of the cave, he complains of extreme pain. Finally, he pulls his shirt off to discover the left side of his chest is covered in egg sacs, at which point they start hatching. Mr. Incredible becoming uncanny meme. I regret accepting this entry. Not entirely sure why Dripcat regrets this entry, other than it's so popular at the moment and
I will admit, I do like the Mr. Incredible becoming uncanny memes. There's a subreddit called r/distressing memes. That's pretty good, but also I learned about a lot of metal genres through Mr. Incredible becoming uncanny.
meme, but you've probably seen it. It starts with Mr. Incredible looking fairly normal, and each new level he's been distorted more and more. Mr. Pickles. Mr. Pickles is about a
This is one of my favorite fucking shows.
family and their beloved dog, Mr. Pickles, who is actually a satanic murderer who won't stop
He's not just a satanic murderer, he's a demon.
mutilating his victims. My Friend Pedro, final boss. My Friend Pedro is a fast-paced side-scrolling shoot-'em-up where the player traverses several
I want to talk about My Friend Pedro because My Friend Pedro started as a Flash game and became a feature-length game. I love it.
themed levels while shooting everything that moves, all at the behest of a talking banana named Pedro. The final boss of the game, and spoilers here, is Pedro himself. After a certain point in the battle, Pedro transforms and his peel comes down, revealing a very unsettling looking banana. Omega Mart. Omega Mart is an AR.
Omega Mart's not just an ARG, it's a project, an art project by Meow Wolf. And you can go visit the Omega Mart.
Or alternate reality game that takes the form of an actual supermarket. It's an actual place in Area 15 Nevada where you can pay to explore Omega Mart and the hidden areas and rooms inside. The store basically feels like it's from a slightly altered dimension, or that aliens are trying to recreate a supermarket, just inaccurately. Products such as mammoth chunks, vegan goat pus, and who told you this was butter, do not eat, are on display. There's an eerie vibe to the whole thing, and the commercials are where it really hits the body horror category. Maybe I'll do a whole video on this one, it's pretty cool. Parasite Eve. I actually think I covered the film adaptation of Parasite Eve on my J-Horror Iceberg series, but anyway, this is a video game where the premise is that the main villain is trying to destroy the human race.
They straight up ripped off of the thing with that dog.
By means of spontaneous human combustion. The game features many twisted abominations, especially the boss fights. Pokemon Lost Silver. This is referring to a creepypasta where an anonymous person supposedly finds a Pokemon Silver cartridge with a save file already on the game. The game world is completely altered and has very disturbing elements to it. You can just read the pasta because it's really interesting, but it does feature some very disturbing moments involving Pokemon who actually die in this game as opposed to being knocked out. Princess Mononoke.
It's fucking terrifying.
Okay. This is labeled as Princess Momoke on the iceberg, and at first I thought, oh, someone must have edited Momo into Princess Mononoke, but I actually think this is a typo as it's just referring to the film itself. It's probably my favorite Hayao Miyazaki film, and I think sometimes it gets overshadowed by Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. But
Princess Mononoke is a phenomenal fucking film.
But anyway, it's about a prince whose arm is cursed after being bit by a demon, and he has to leave his village to seek a cure. Along the way, he gets mixed up in the ultimate clash between man, machine, and nature. The body horror comes in here with the fact that Prince Ashitaka's cursed arm sometimes has creepy-looking spasms that grant him superhuman strength. On top of that, you have the forest spirit, a majestic creature whose head gets blown off, causing it to mutate into a massive demonic blob creature. You should check it out. Raka Raka. Raka Raka is a YouTube channel that usually features over-the-top videos with gratuitous violence. Their most popular series features a homicidal version of Ronald McDonald that
What the fuck am I watching? I'm kinda in shock, chat.
brutalizes his victims. There's even a video where he kills kids. If you're into completely irreverent and over-the-top humor, maybe this channel's for you. Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon. Ren and Stimpy is a whole mess of body horror just because of the nature of the art style. Adult Party Cartoon was the mature version of Ren and Stimpy that actually was labeled as one of the worst cartoons. Cartoon about four human brothers whose DNA is mixed with sharks, turning them into half-shark, half-man hybrid monstrosities. Their main antagonist, Dr. Luther Paradigm, is part piranha as well. Super Jail. Super Jail is an adult swim cartoon based on a jail and its inmates, often featuring a lot of horror elements like a grotesque alien virus infecting the inmates, or Ash, a burn victim, with Freddy Krueger like skin and webbed hands. Surreal entertainment.
I like surreal entertainment. They're weird.
Surreal Entertainment is a YouTube animator who produces eccentric, meme-style animated videos. The animations typically involve the characters moving in impossible ways, stretching limbs beyond natural limits, and having deadpan robotic voices.
Is that the Grubhub guy?
Sweet Home, game and movie. Another movie mentioned in my J-horror iceberg, Sweet Home is a film and later game adaptation telling the story of filmmakers entering an old mansion and encountering nightmarish situations. The game actually directly inspired Resident Evil and laid
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
the groundwork for many other games. There's a particularly disturbing scene in the film where an old man starts melting, so that's cool. Tetsuo the Iron Man. Yet another film from the J-horror iceberg. Okay, I promise I'll shut up about that. But Tetsuo is about a man slowly becoming part machine in a really disturbing fashion, and then fighting another metal abomination. After the battle, they fuse together.
I still highly recommend Tetsuo the Iron Man. It's such a good fucking body horror movie.
Into a tank-like creature. Also, at one point in the movie, his dick turns into a giant drill that he impales his girlfriend on. Just thought you should know. The Adventures of Mark Twain. And this bizarre claymation
Oh, yeah. The iteration of Satan in this movie was terrifying.
movie, Mark Twain takes some kids on an airship, as several Mark Twain stories are told through vignettes. The animation itself is kind of creepy, but one infamous scene has the kids left in a room on the airship with the mysterious stranger, who is no doubt Satan himself. His face shifts around all creepy, and then he makes clay people who get killed. The darkest of the hillside thickets. This is an H.P. Lovecraft-inspired band where a lot of the lyrics dive into horror. Like,
Ooh.
for instance, the song Protein starts by describing the act of chopping a woman up. The Evil Within.
Evil Within is a great game in concept, but the controls are fucking difficult as shit.
This is another one of those games where the enemies are twisted abominations, like one called the Obscura that's a female body with stretched out limbs and a camera head, or the Guardian, which is a towering monstrosity made up of corpses of women murder victims. The Incredible Melting Man. I mean, the title says it all on this one, but it's a horror movie where an astronaut withstands a large amount of radiation and slowly begins melting while trying to eat people. Fun fact, this was originally written as a comedy that parodied horror films, but the comedic scenes were cut, and instead more serious horror scenes were added.
I think this is a very interesting fucking premise.
It would be interesting to see the comedic version of this in a director's cut or something. The Mandela Catalog. The Mandela Catalog is an analog horror series about the fictional Mandela County and its run-ins with alternates, who are basically demons that are capable of changing their shape in order to resemble other people, as well as using psychological techniques to induce their victims into committing suicide. It's a huge rabbit hole, and I'd suggest watching Wendigoon's video cover.
If anyone hasn't seen the Mandela Catalog, you probably heard this sound on TikTok. If you see a person that is identical to you, run away and hide.
Covering it if you're interested. The Mask cartoon. The Mask in any form is body horror, but this is specifically talking about the cartoon, which features a lot of villains who come about after using the mask. The mask itself,
Yeah, I can see it.
attaching to your face, is just disturbing. The Ruins. So remember when I messed up in the last video and instead of talking about the Marvel comic Ruins, I thought it meant a book called The Ruins about tourists who are trapped on a hill with tribespeople ready to kill them if they leave and flesh-eating vines on top? Yeah, so this is the film adaptation of that book, and it definitely has some brutal scenes, like a man painstakingly forced to amputate his legs with rudimentary equipment. The Scream scene, Looney Tunes back in action. I believe this is the scene where Elmer Fudd is trying to kill Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, and a chase scene ensues through a museum of art. The Toons are able to jump into the paintings. They jump into the classic painting, The Scream, and at one point after getting his toes smashed, Elmer Fudd replicates the Scream, which
God damn.
looks pretty spooky. The Walton Files. The Walton Files is an animated YouTube series inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, where episodes are portrayed like a series of VHS tapes found from
The rabbit is starving.
the 70s. Very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, the series features disturbing animatronic characters. There's Something About Amy. This is a YouTube series about Amy from the Sonic series getting fed up with Sonic blowing her off and gets help from Tails, who helps to improve her looks by actually turning her into a Frankenstein-like abomination. Thumb Thumbs, Spy
Yeah, there's something about Amy's pretty creepy.
Kids. In the Spy Kids movies, there are henchmen slash slave creatures known as Thumb Thumbs whose bodies are made of thumbs. You get the idea. Tokyo Gore Police. Tokyo Gore Police is a stylized J-horror movie. The film is set in future Japan where a mad scientist has created a virus that infects people.
I recommend Tokyo Gore Police. It was a super fun watch. It is over the top, but you will not regret watching it.
Which are called engineers. The virus allows them to sprout weapons from any injury. You can imagine the horrible things this idea can conjure, like a man getting his penis bitten off and the wound turning into a giant dick cannon. That's just scratching the surface of this movie. It's absolutely relentless in the body horror and gore department, so don't watch if you have a weak stomach. Seriously. Tord after the explosion. This is referring to an episode of Ed's World where the character Tord's robot explodes and he's caught in the explosion where his body is badly damaged.
Damn.
Trolge. Trolge is the dark and demented version of Trollface with multiple variations across the internet. Tusk. Tusk is somewhere in the...
I wanted to talk about. Is anyone weirded out that Harvey from Epic Mealtime was in this movie for some reason? This was not a good movie, don't get me wrong, but why do you got YouTubers in this movie?
Realm of the human centipede, but with a comedic angle. A podcaster, played by Justin Long, travels to Canada for an interview, but it turns out that the guy's a psycho and starts slowly turning him into a walrus. It's funny, but also deeply unsettling and hard to watch.
He's got hand flippers.
Watch at times. Uncle Grandpa. Uncle Grandpa is a wacky-ass show. In one episode of Halloween...
It flopped really hard. I think the only character I really liked was Pizza Steve.
Special called Afraid of the Dark, Uncle Grandpa helps a little girl get over her fears of the dark by telling her it's all just in her imagination and there's nothing to be afraid of. Unfortunately, their imaginations are horrifying and the room fills with monsters. Near the end of the episode, the duo realize they must conquer their fears by becoming their fears and transform themselves into hellish creatures. That's just one example, but the show has a lot of weird stuff like that. Void memes are remix videos that often transform the subject of the video clip into a red-tinted interdimensional monster accompanied by eerie music or high-pitched audio. If you're wondering why that explanation is so well written and concise, it's because I ripped it straight from Know Your Meme. Hey, I can cheat.
I mean, I would have never guessed that these things had their own category.
Once in a while, right? Watership Down. Okay, I never heard of this before, which is why I love icebergs, but Watership Down is a novel turned film about a group of bunnies trying to escape being demolished by human developers and are seeking a new home. It almost could be a charming kids movie other than the fact that there's gratuitous violence involving a lot of the rabbits being killed in brutal ways. Whack Your Games.
Oh shit, we're in the Flash games category. Oh, please tell me you're not about to show the poop scene. If I get demonetized.
Whack Your Game started out with simply Whack Your Boss, but has evolved to include many different potential titles, people, and relationships, including Whack Your Ex. The idea is that you can choose various ways to kill the person, and it sometimes gets really graphic. Wishmaster. Wishmaster is
Thank God he didn't show the poop scene.
About a demon called a Djinn who will grant 3 wishes to whoever
It's called a djinn.
Unleashes him, but when he does, he'll summon his demon brethren to Earth. The demon goes on a full-on killing spree, feeding off of people's fears, but I think the most body horror moment is when a man's skeleton comes out of his body in the most painstaking, bloody way.
That's horrifying.
World of Horror. World of Horror is a 1-bit pixel RPG and horror game that takes place in the town of Shiokawa, Japan. The player must explore various locations and fight otherworldly creatures in order to halt the apocalypse. These creatures are inspired heavily by Japanese horror folklore and thus have some grotesque features such as an enemy called Scissor Woman based off of the Slit Mouse Woman from Japanese folklore. There's also a burned version of her. Ugh. Xavier, Renegade Angel.
Oh my god, I love Xavier Renegade Angel, and it's so weird. I think in one of Markiplier's Try Not to Laugh challenges, he reacted to the scene where Xavier's talking to himself. And it is so funny. You only got one peni? Let me see it. See it with your eyes, not with your mouth.
Animated show that features a fawn-like pseudo-shaman Xavier in his wacky adventures. The animation alone is creepy enough, but there's also some good body horror sprinkled in as well. Yeah, it's a weird show. Last but not least, Zalgo. Boy, this one is a whole nother rabbit hole, but basically Zalgo is a creepypasta turned meme who is an ominous being who has the ability to induce insanity, death, and total destruction of the world. Zalgo has inspired
That's where the fucking Zolgo text comes from?
a lot of media and art that's all pretty disturbing. My Metamorphosis Begins refers to a void comic in which a man undergoes an agonizing metamorphosis ritual, with the last panel revealing his new form. It became a popular meme back in 2020 where the new form usually serves as a punchline. 31 Minutos. This is a Chilean comedy television series that's a parody of 60 Minutes and features a ton of music.
What the fuck?
At least that's what I gather since I don't speak the language. As far as the body horror goes, the show features a zombie butler that has his eyeball hanging out, and there's an entire music video with a bunch of zombies performing. 9. 9 is a largely overlooked
I love Nine. It is such a good movie. I'm not gonna spoil it for y'all, but y'all should check it out.
animated film from 2009 where a scientist creates a sentient rag doll that adventures through a post-apocalyptic world. All the dolls in this movie are imperfect in different ways, and the idea that they're reanimated and actually given life from the scientist is pretty interesting. Jamer. Jamer, I think that's how you say it, is a YouTube animator whose videos often feature characters' bodies distorting in different ways. I have to say, I think this animation stands out as being particularly
Whoa! Whoa!
good in this area of YouTube. A Bad Case of Stripes. A Bad Case of Stripes is a children's book about a girl who wakes up with thick stripes on her skin that change shape depending on what people yell out. A Hennebarbiss Henneseed. I might be saying that wrong too. This is a YouTube video with a very unsettling face that chomps its teeth while strange clicking noises just
I've seen this face on Entumbra.
repeat. As the video goes on, the face multiplies and the sounds get more intense, inducing anxiety for a lot of people. It's also worth noting that there is a whole story about a Facebook user with this name who is randomly adding people and then sending them cheese pizza and gore. And apparently the FBI was even investigating it, but once you say the FBI is investigating something internet related, I start getting more skeptical on whether it's true. But interesting nonetheless. This is the kind of thing I love about this iceberg. We go from a children's book to predatory internet entities. The range of body horror is hilarious.
It's it's a wild and wacky world. Alright, chat. I'm not gonna lie to you. Uh it is 7:33 where I'm at. And I have to start getting ready for work soon. So I'm gonna upload the first portion in this, and then we'll do a part 2 tomorrow when I'm off and I can finish this without interfering with my work schedule. So thank you all for joining me. Please subscribe if you like this video. Like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. It's perfectly fine. But I'm gonna head out, and I appreciate you all for coming. Peace.